You're watching WHNT News 19's After the Storm, 1 year later. Sponsored by Alpha Insurance and First Family Mortgage.
Some say time is nothing but a mental construct, the name we give a physical phenomenon to organize the intervals between the events that occur in our lives. It's how we measure our age, quantify our accomplishments, remember the past and plan our future. Birth, death, milestones and anniversaries, seconds, minutes, hours, and days. They say time heals all wounds, that in time all things are revealed. But some would argue it's not time at all, but our own thoughts that govern actual reality. For many, a mere 365 days is of little consequence when it comes to the easing of hardship, of loss, of fear. For survivors of the April 27, 2011 tornadoes, memory of that day's events is raw and still very real. But taking time out of the equation, perhaps one day the heap of emotions, the hurt brought on by tragedy, can become just a glimmer in our minds, an instant of experience in our lives. 1 year after the storm, let us not forget, but instead take the time to make record of where we've been, what we've learned, and how far we've come. A snapshot of our collective experience, the syndication of one of life's dark episodes, a portrait of recovery. From Hackelberg to Harvest, from Phil Campbell to Pisgah, where storms claimed the first life in Alabama on April 27, 2011. For 19 hours and 9 minutes that day, we were at the mercy of Mother Nature, paralyzed, worried about our families, our friends, our fate.
When entire communities are wiped away in mere moments, it's easy to feel like it may take a lifetime to regain, to reclaim, and to return home.
But even as communities across the Tennessee Valley renew and rebuild, there are some things that will never change.
Hearts and landscapes remain scarred, but what we've learned has left the biggest mark. With faith and family as our foundation, Alabama's story will be one of strength, service, and solidarity after the storm.
April 27th, 2011, a day like no other in Alabama history. Thousands of lives impacted, hundreds more ended on that dark day. The first EF5 tornado of the outbreak touched down at 3:05 p.m., staying on the ground for an incredible 132 straight miles. For one community, the source of their very livelihoods was wiped away. We begin our 1 year after the storm update with Lee Marshall in Marion County.
The dozers are rolling at the Wrangler plant in Hackelberg. The site is clear. A year after it was leveled by an EF5 tornado, the storm blew one of the biggest employers in Marion County away.
It completely wiped everything out.
Hundreds injured, 18 lives lost here.
Everything in here was wiped completely out.
Houses of faith and houses of family rebuilding. Portable classrooms take the place of the schoolhouse. A football field once filled with the hometown cheers of the Hackelberg Panthers is just a silent shell. The concrete bleachers, the only thing left. 19 acres has been purchased a stone's throw away from the old school site to rebuild.
I don't much believe our school will be ready to go back in a year's time.
A concentration on their field of dreams could help the Panthers play their next season at home.
Anything pertaining to sports like football and stuff like that, that would be first priority. Building it back and all to where that maybe this fall we can play our football games here.
While the Piggly Wiggly won't rebuild, a new Dollar General is close to opening.
Hackelberg got more damage percentage-wise than anybody, but we got cleaned up, building back probably quicker than anybody.
The rebuilding is putting people back to work. Stephen Pace with Tri-County Construction is working on the Wrangler plant.
We've been very busy here, very fortunate to have this close to home and here in our community.
1 year later, the site has been cleared and they're getting ready to rebuild the Wrangler plant in Hackelberg. A lot of the workers behind me, local contractors, and the equipment they're using to rebuild They also used in recovery and rescue after April 27th.
Looking for my own family members and getting back into where they were at. And my guys joined in and helped me and my family. And we lost my mother and my grandmother and my cousin and her husband.
They died when the storm hit Phil Campbell.
A lot of anxiety coming up for me and my family, and as April 27th approaches, but it's good to be here and kind of give back, do something good out of it, you know.
Limestone County has a storied past when it comes to tornadoes. Hit hard by the historic 1974 outbreak with a death toll of more than 50 people. The 2011 storms killed 4 there. Elise Morgan introduces you to a Tanner woman who lived through both events.
Go to Limestone County and you'll find some spots virtually untouched since April 27th. But dig a little deeper and you'll find growth, rebuilding, and recovery, including areas like Stewart Road and Tanner, where Velvet Meals lost almost everything April 27th.
It was a 2-story house then, and it is now. The top level was completely gone. It was like it had been chopped in two.
Velvet's mother lives just a few houses down the street. Her house was destroyed as well.
One of my sons come up out there, he said, I asked him, I said, Michael, have we got anything? He said, Mama, your house is gone, and Velvet says too.
It was also leveled by a tornado in 1974, but this time she was prepared.
The shelter was built before our second house was built, so.
And that shelter is where she and 2 of her children took cover in 2011. Everyone in the family was fine, and it wasn't long before the recovery began.
Within minutes after we got home, and I mean minutes, friends and family and neighbors were here.
They've had the time and space to reflect on the lessons those tornadoes brought with them.
And I know everybody loves pretty things, but we don't know how long we're going to keep them.
Just down the road in Athens, about 24 people took cover in the basement of Bethel Church of Christ.
So I went over and opened the door and looked up the stairwell, and there wasn't a first floor. It was gone.
Mathis sent a text message to the church's preacher.
Bethel is gone. There's 30 in the annex basement. The top floor is gone, and the house is trashed.
Well, it was so surreal. There was no visible landmark.
After 27 years here, preacher Jimmy Clark was shocked by what he saw, but was grateful everyone was protected.
This building was designed to break away. It did exactly as it was designed. These walls down here, they're this thick. They're about 2 foot thick, poured concrete.
And that's exactly how the new building is being built.
All of this is basically designed for protection.
The tornado shelter at the new church will hold 500, and the church is about 3 times the size of the last one.
This is a major, major project. The elders have never done a project this large, but it'll be grand when it's all finished.
Clark said the Lord works in mysterious ways. The insurance money helped them start building a new church, for which they couldn't get the needed funding before April 27th.
It shocked you into the reality of how quick life can change, and yet at the same time, the old adage, it's more blessed to give than to receive. Hey, I don't have to preach that to my people. These people understand that.
DeKalb County experienced the highest number of tornado deaths in North Alabama. Clarissa McClain shows us how survivors are getting back on their feet there 1 year later.
An all-consuming wind.
Just trying to survive. I was just trying to hold on.
Split seconds, feeling like forever.
And my wife went under the kitchen table and hold on to it.
The sound of fear.
I heard somebody screaming for help.
Confusion, chaos, and constant reminders of death.
We had the injured coming in the front door, and we had fatalities coming in the back door. So it was pure chaos.
DeKalb County Sheriff Jimmy Harris was used to tornadoes, but nothing prepared him for April 27th. The day started with 2 fatalities.
I knew that we were in for a long night.
With the death toll rising so fast, autopsies weren't an option.
They continued to come and they continued to come.
The Rainsville Fire Hall became a triage, bodies being brought in from all over the county, and living victims looking for help.
We're going to have to identify these bodies.
Sheriff Harris, along with his most seasoned officers, were in full work mode until
When they brought the first child in and we unwrapped the child and placed the child in a body bag, every officer in the room began to cry. Every officer that was in there. So I walked outside and I just said, I said, Lord, I said, you gave me this job, and I don't think you'll put any more on me than I can handle, but I need some help.
And help came from all over the nation. At one point, there were more than 200 officers on patrol in the county and 42 guardsmen and women. And volunteers poured in to help strangers in need, like Bobby and Donna Abbott, who sought cover in their Sylvania home when an EF5 tornado headed straight for them.
It was just unbelievable. If it hadn't been for a refrigerator that was in the garage that fell across my legs, I don't think it would have blown me away. I don't believe I'd stayed here.
Here on County Road 27, on a hill, now nicknamed Breezy Top, is where they decided to rebuild. As time ticked away on this salvaged clock, the Abbotts worked daily to restore the home they've shared since 1980.
Sometimes you think, how did we make it this far in a year?
But there's no question about this. The tornado changed the Abbotts for the better.
We're closer to the family.
We're going to church now.
While the Abbotts are more subdued in their newfound faith, another couple is shouting the Lord's praises.
Totally. I'm happy. I'm happy to come back because of...
Excited about Jesus, because he kept us alive.
Alive and appreciative.
This is the kitchen here.
Loy and Wilma Ramlo's Rainsville home is still under construction. Concrete center block service steps. They wash dishes on the front porch. There's really only one finished room.
Even though you're in the house and it's still not finished, you still feel blessed.
Oh, yes, I am blessed. We are blessed. I'm not complaining about anything. I got everything I need.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Just trust in the Lord, and he will send the right people at the right time.
DeKalb County's neighbors to the north were no strangers to destruction and loss of life just 1 year ago. Survivors in Jackson County are slowly moving on after the storm, but as David Wood reports, recovery there doesn't mean the same thing for everyone.
Since 1933, if you needed to know how to get somewhere on Jackson County Road 326,
you told them in the Bill Anderson house. You turn at the Bill Anderson house.
Peggy Anderson Atkins has had a storied past in this home, destroyed in April 2011.
I was born in the house.
A year after the storm, Peggy and family are still cleaning up around the home she inherited from her mother, with plans to eventually tear down and rebuild on this property. But as debris is cleared away, Peggy still has a hard time explaining this broken home to her 4-year-old granddaughter.
I don't think we as adults even understand. It's always a question of why. But through faith in God and His grace, everybody seems to be recovering.
Just about anyone could point a camera in Jackson County and capture images of the pastoral, the serene, images of the Brown brothers' grounded chicken houses or trailers that still lie in disrepair a year after the storm, images that tell a story all their own. Anyone could come with expectations, but sometimes as a journalist,
don't know that we will ever be back where we were before.
The most difficult story to tell is the truth.
You don't have, hey, I worked this, during the week. Hey, it's the weekend, let's cook out, kids, or let's do this, or let's do that. No, it's, hey, we got work to do.
4 households of the Horton family were ripped apart last year.
There was 9 of us that walked out without a scratch. Praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus.
Since then, just about every day has been dedicated to cleanup and rebuilding.
2-3 weeks cleaning up and going through stuff, and we're still not done cleaning up and going through stuff.
By no means.
A year later, the Hortons, all of them, are still living in a FEMA trailer. They only have 6 months left to complete work on their new permanent residence. I found truth in Flat Rock, and over the past year, the Hortons say they found truth too, and at least one day a week to carve out for something other than labor.
We quit working on it on Sundays because I made a promise. Lord, if you'd let my kids be all right, I'd get back where I need to be. So we quit working on it on Sundays, and we're trying to go to church. My daughter, she's been faithful, praise the Lord.
I'm telling you, you can't dedicate one day to the Lord, but yet He lets you live through things like that. I'm telling you, touch home with you.
It will. It'll make a difference in your life.
The closest to dying I've ever came.
And the Hortons, like so many, live with that trauma every day. Recovery is an indefinite concept here. Slow and steady for some, a stop clock for others. But for whatever a year is worth, one thing is for sure. The faith and resolve of Jackson County storm survivors is unwavering.
It's tough, but time does help. Time helps.
He took everything else we had, but you know what? We can always start over. With the grace of God and help of family and friends, you can always start over. Always.
An 8-mile path of destruction from Mount Hope to Langtown, Lawrence County, yet another area changed forever by tornadoes. But Beth, Jett explains there are positive signs of growth and recovery happening for survivors there in just 1 year's time.
April 27th threw a double-edged sword into the heart of Lawrence County. Devastating loss, but exciting new development.
You lose a lot of tradition.
Sheriff Gene Mitchell has kept an eye on his county and a pulse on the emotions of his neighbors.
You know, they're moving on with their lives, and even the folks that had the terrible tragedies of losing people.
He speaks standing in front of a case in point in Langtown. That's where the community's flower shop once stood, next to an old gas station. Over the last year, the owners replaced it all with a brand new store, restaurant, and gas station.
And I see that all over the county. People are resilient. They come back, they build back, and it's always better than it was.
On the other hand, some people affected aren't moving as quickly to rebuild. Mitchell says he sees that in his hometown, Mount Hope.
We had a country store there that had been traditionally there forever. I'm not sure that it's coming back.
But he points to a brand new Dollar General store picking up the business from locals.
You always wind up better than you were before overall. I mean, you got new stuff where the old was.
A staggering 61 tornadoes touched down in Alabama on April 27th, 15 of them in Marshall County. It took one to change Ricky and Regina Hallmark's life and family tree forever. Carson Clark brings us that story of emotional recovery from Marshall County.
We survived by God's grace and mercy.
That's right. That's right.
He's the only thing that could have got us through it.
I cannot imagine anyone going through what we've been through without him.
For Ricky and Regina Hallmark, the last year has almost been like living in a world where time is somehow slower. 12 months for us. To them,
it just seems like yesterday, really and truly.
To me, it seems like yesterday I was just holding my babies in my arms. Yeah. I still look at his picture every day.
Their 17-month-old son, Jaden Hallmark, was one of the youngest victims of April 27th. On that day, he and his twin sister, Julie, were with their grandparents, Philip and Ann Hallmark. As the tornado approached from the southwest, they, along with the Hallmark's other son, Shane, and wife, Jennifer, and their daughter, Ari, took shelter in a bathroom. Of those 7, only Julie and Ari survived.
We both had to park 2 miles away to get there, and of course, Julie and Ari had already carried them to the ER, and somebody carried us to the ER. I don't remember who it was. I did know the name, but I can't remember now. But it was devastating. It was devastating, especially Regina had to identify them, but they wouldn't let me there. But it's rough when you walk up on your family's property and everything gone.
Can Mommy come hold you? No.
A year later, Julie seems to be thriving.
She's adjusted better than we'd expected on there. She has asked for him one time. Me and her was going to my brother's place to check on things, and she asked where was Jaden, and that's the only time that she has actually ever asked where was he.
The days after the storm were a blur for the Hallmarks, filled with hospital trips and a funeral with 5 hearses. But it was also a time of unbelievable kindness from old friends and new.
Just want to say thank you. Thank you for being there for us. Thank you for being there when we needed you the most.
It's been a journey. It's been a rough year. With the Lord's help and grace, we've got through it.
Some things just have to be learned the hard way. For Madison County, it came at the cost of 9 precious lives last April. As Greg Screws reports, Madison County elected officials and residents alike view the challenge and the tragedy also as an opportunity to strengthen and grow.
People were just coming out of those houses just covered in stuff. We had dogs with broken legs and, you know, just people walking out and coming over here dazed.
Many in District 4 can chart their lives by what put them in the Harvest House restaurant.
Okay, Ben.
It's been in Kim Shelton's family for 25 years.
After a little while, we couldn't even get out on our cell phones. They just had to wait and see if somebody from their family showed up.
Harvest House became a home to those who lost all. Those on Lockhart, Stovall, Yarborough. Owner Kim Shelton wants no credit.
You know, you can't just run out on your friends that have supported you. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for all these people, especially these neighborhoods right here around my restaurant.
This is what District 4 Commissioner Dell Strong saw on April 27th. He knew there would not be enough ambulances. He needed a break, and he got one.
I saw a row of buses out there, and I said, "Do you believe they left the keys in those buses?" He said, "I doubt it." The first bus we pulled up had the keys in it.
This is a bus borrowed from Sparkman High. Soon it was packed with the injured, headed out of the storm zone. And Dell Strong will never forget the Magaha family.
I can remember standing in the back of that bus, rendering care to her children, to her, and others from that area. And all of a sudden she said, "This is all that's left. My husband is dead." And I remember I said, "I can offer you nothing more than a prayer." And we held hands and prayed. I'll never forget it.
You hope you don't ever have to face again.
Huntsville Mayor Tommy Battle knows down the road more storms are coming, maybe as strong as April 27th. This is his notebook, a 3-ring binder loaded with his daily notes from the storm relief.
And I keep this book by my desk because, you know, next time it happens, I want to have it to be able to look back on and say, hey, what did we get last time? What did we miss that first day?
It changed the way we do things.
EMA Director Rusty Russell says the 911 Center disaster plan worked in the storm's aftermath, but it's been tweaked with the lessons learned.
We're much better prepared now.
The pain of April 27th for those in leadership that day, there are still questions which may not have an answer.
I honestly believe those people did everything they could. They did what they were supposed to do, and they died anyway. And that hurts me. So how can we fix that?
Faith has played a big role in the lives of survivors over this past year. Many say they couldn't have gotten through without it. You need to look no further than Franklin County for evidence of that. As you continue on your own personal journey of recovery, wherever you may be on that path, we wish you luck and leave you tonight with Jerry Hayes and Phil Campbell, a town that people say has truly been touched by the hand of God after the storm.
Phil Campbell will never be the same.
I think it's changed forever.
A lot of them said they weren't going to build back, but now they are building back.
You know, it's a good community.
Yeah.
I think it is. I love it here.
A pastor, a politician, and a proud resident. All storm survivors who share a common goal. Remembering and rebuilding to make Phil Campbell a better place to call home. The past year has been rocky for some who live in this little northwest Alabama city, but Carolyn and Jay Parker never thought twice about rebuilding after their home was knocked off its foundation and destroyed by an EF5 tornado. This is where they've lived for 37 years. It's where they raised their 3 kids.
There's been a lot of them that's not moving back.
Yeah.
But I said, if there's ever another one that comes through here, I'm gone. Yeah, I did. I don't know, God's telling me to move on. Not quite as clean as what it needs to be, but...
Several days after the storm, their home was deemed unlivable and bulldozed. They started over from the ground up.
It was in the hands of God is all I can say.
The help rebuilding didn't come from the government. It came from their brothers and sisters in Christ.
All things come from God. That's what I say. All things come from God. We didn't need their help. God sent it.
He sent the Mennonites, Church of Christ, United Methodist, Free Will and Missionary Baptists, and the Church of God. Not only did their members help physically build the home, they helped furnish it as well.
Anybody asked me who built my house, I said God did.
The Parkers have been in their new home since December.
They said out of every disaster comes a blessing. It's according to how you look at it.
And this is your blessing.
This
right
is my
here.
blessing.
Just down the road,
You got to find your new normalcy, your new picture of what Phil Campbell is.
Chris Burns, pastor at the Phil Campbell Church of God, continues on a journey he and his wife never thought they'd make. They lost their home and church building on April 27th. But the first Sunday after the storm, he preached a sermon of hope on a concrete slab where the church once stood.
The sun will rise tomorrow because we have a hope. The hope was already there. We just had to follow it.
They followed that hope by buying 3 acres in a tornado-damaged building. They've grown from 2,500 to 10,000 square feet.
God has just stretched us and said, I want you to take what I've given to you and really use it, and that's our goal.
The church now has a student center where kids can have a safe place to hang out during the week, and their Hope Center warehouse will soon be ready for food distribution and disaster relief.
God was just amazing. God's just totally amazing, and what He's blessed us with is just, well, it's nothing short of wow.
With each passing day, you can see signs of Phil Campbell coming back. The people who live here will rebuild and remember. A granite monument with the names of those who died in the storm will soon sit on this piece of city park property.
A lot of the town people, they're proud that we're building this. We want to dedicate this to the people we've lost. A lot of them were our close friends.
The memorial will be on the main road between the Chat and Chew restaurant and what is now perhaps the town's most recognizable landmark, the water tower that still stands proclaiming this is the home of the Phil Campbell Bobcats. Like this tattered American flag that still flies high on a utility pole in downtown, the people here are worn but proud.
They were so down, and now since everything is coming together, they pick their spirits back up.
One of the things that we want to do as a church is love this town.
There's a lot of love that came out of this tornado. If people don't believe in God and what He can do, they need to come to Phil Campbell. Come walk down the street. You'll see what He's done. I appreciate Him.
Thank you for watching WHNT News 19's After the Storm, 1 year later. Sponsored by Alpha Insurance and First Family Mortgage.